right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and through the spirit, you know, the Lord has me out here on the highways and hedges once again to prophesy the downfall of this kingdom and to prophesy the sealing of his elect men and the prophesying of Yahweh Shai's return so Yahweh Shai can establish his kingdom. Now today, I'm going to be going into, you know, this video. You know, there was a video uploaded by the brother Banak Nizakwa from South Carolina, and basically, you know, you got these jakes who are going out there teaching, and you know they're not walking wisely. You know, the scriptures speak about walking as wise men. Okay, and a matter of fact, let me get that first, because you know, yesterday I did a video on how this truth is not about trying to be some kind of tough guy. You know, you gotta walk wisely. You gotta walk wisely in this truth, man. Because one thing you gotta understand is that in this society, hold on. Okay, just make sure it's recording. Because one thing you gotta understand is that in this society, one wrong move can lead you in prison. Probably for the rest of your life. One wrong move can cost you your life. So there's a reason why in the book of Matthew, the 10th chapter, Yahweh Shai said, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. You know, it's one thing to read it, but to live it is another story. So let me just get that in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. It says, see then that ye walk circumspectly. Now, circumspectly, you know, which is one of the words that I like to break down, because it's one of the words that makes, you know, it's one of those words, it's two words, but you can break it down, and it's easy for those that are new in the truth to understand. So circumspect, you know, means to look around you. So circumspect is two words when you really break it down. Circum, where you know you get cirque or a circle, you know, and basically, you know, a circle is a round object. So you know you looking all around you, and then the word spect, which is short for spectator or spectate, which means to watch, observe. So, you know, living in this kingdom, you literally got to observe your surroundings. You got to watch your surroundings. And yeah, it's talking about in the literal sense, but it's also talking about in the spiritual sense. You got to know when demons are coming up to your camp, trying to tempt you to draw you out of the truth. You gotta watch for when there's demons, you know, trying to get you to fall out the truth. Like Yahweh Shai told Peter, you know, Peter, Satan has desired you to sift you as wheat. Okay? Satan don't want the word of the Most High, which is Yahweh Shai, coming out on the highways and hedges. He don't want that, because he knows that once that happens, you know, that's the end of the so-called white man's kingdom. Once the elect is sealed, that is it for this wicked kingdom. And Satan knows that. So Satan is going to come at you at all angles to prevent you from teaching his word. But like it tells you in the Holy Scriptures, the Lord have reserved unto us 7,000 men which have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. So there's going to be men in this truth that's going to walk accordingly, as it is written. Okay? That there are men that are of the elect, you know, they're going to be living by the commandments and the law and statutes to the best of their ability that is written in the Holy Scriptures. Okay? So you literally got to watch your surroundings, man. You know? Because Satan is not going to just come up to your camp and try to debate against you through the average so-called white Joe walking up and down the street, or the average 2/3 Jake walking up and down the street. These demons, they're going to come after you via the police force. And these demons know that the police got the power underneath the so-called elites. Okay? And a matter of fact, the so-called elites are the ones funding the police force. Okay? So the police force is being funded to kill our people, or to arrest our people and to throw them in jail. Okay? So this is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Okay? Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Now, Yahushua mentioned two peaceful creatures in this exact same verse. Two peaceful creatures were mentioned in the same verse of Matthew 10, verse 16. And those two peaceful creatures are what? The sheep and the dove. Okay? A sheep is a harmless creature. A dove is a harmless creature. So what is Yahushua saying here, man? He's he's saying, don't cause any chaos, don't cause any unnecessary chaos, man. You gotta learn how to, like it tells you, I believe in the book of Corinthians, if it at all be possible, live peaceably with all men. Okay? Like it tells you in Romans, if it at all be possible, as it tells you in Corinthians, if it at all be possible, live peaceably with all men. That also includes the police force. So Yahushua said, I send you forth as sheep. So if you know the police is coming up, don't go from being a sheep to being a lion, because the scriptures tell you that a lively dog is better than a dead lion. You're better off just being a sheep, man. A dove is a peaceful bird. You don't see doves going around preying upon other birds. So Yahushua said, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. The wolves are the 2/3 of our people, as well as the heathens, starting with the so-called white man. So you gotta learn how to be wise with your words, man. Like Yahushua said, be ye wise as serpents and harmless as doves. You could do that by learning how to be wise with your tongue, man. The scriptures tell you that life and death are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it will eat the very fruit thereof. So life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's why you got to be careful as to what you say to certain people. Okay? You got to be careful as to what you say to certain people. You got to be careful as to what you say to the police when they come up. Okay? Now, I'm going to skip down to verse 23. Matthew chapter 10, verse 23. Okay? It says, but when they persecute you in this city, okay? The word persecute, when you look it up, means to harass or to categorize. Okay? Like they might categorize you as a particular group of people. You know, they might call you the black Hebrew Israelites. You know, I'm talking about the U.S. government. They might call you the black Hebrew Israelites. Okay, so, you know, the word persecute also means to harass. So there's going to come a time, a point to where people is going to call the police on you for teaching the word. But you know, as a brother teaching in his truth, you got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. You know, inevitably, if you're teaching in a busy area, one of the business owners are going to call the police for a noise complaint or a disturbance. And really, it's the business owner or whoever called the police. They're the ones who's persecuting you. Okay? So when someone called the police on you because you're out there teaching the word of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, that's an example of you being persecuted. So let's see what Yahweh Shai said about persecution in Matthew 10 to 23. But when they persecute you in this city, okay, well, when somebody calls the police on you for teaching the word, rather if it's a business owner or somebody who got offended at the word, okay, when they persecute you in this city, flee ye into another. Now, it's not saying you gotta exactly go to a different city and teach. That's not what it's talking about. It means if there's a problem, if somebody has a problem with you teaching in a particular area in your city, that means you gotta relocate, man. You gotta have more than one area to teach at. Okay? Like, you know, there's a business way over there, but you know, if somebody inside there ever called the police on me for teaching out loud, well, I have more than one area I can teach at, you know? I have a couple of spots around here I can teach at. Okay? So you always gotta have more than one spot to teach at. That way, if somebody do call the police on you and the police come up, you know, then you can play the role of a serpent, you know? Then you can play the role of the dove, you know? When the police come up, like it tells you, as a matter of fact, let me get that real quick before I give the example, okay? This is the book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 25. It says, agree with thine adversary quickly whilst thou art in the way with him. So Yahweh Shai is saying, agree with thy adversary quickly. Okay, and as a matter of fact, the word shaitan, the word Satan, goes back to the Hebrew word shaitan, which means adversary. When you look up the word adversary means your main enemy. Who's our main enemy on this planet? Well, going back to the book of Genesis, the 25th chapter. Really going back to the book of Genesis, I believe the 4th chapter. When Cain and Abel first came on the scene, okay? The seed of the wicked, those are our main adversary, okay? Who's the seed of the wicked today? So-called white man, okay? Whose forefather, the so-called white man whose forefather goes back to Esau, Edom in the Holy Scriptures, man. Like it tells you, I believe in Genesis, is it the 30th chapter or 37th chapter? It could be the 30th chapter. I mean, don't quote me on it. But Esau is Edom. That's where so-called white people come from. Okay? And really, ever since Cain and Abel, these people has always been our main enemy, our adversary. So right now, we are living in our adversary's kingdom. So we gotta abide by their rules and regulations. Now, if they're telling you you gotta take a chip or a jab, then that's when you refuse, because then that's going against the Holy Scriptures. But if they're telling you you gotta stop at a red light, that means you have to do it. Because if you get caught by the police running a red light, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get written up, you're going to get a citation, your license might even get suspended, and then on top of that, you got a ticket that you got to pay off. You know? You know? You know, if the so-called white men say that you got to work a 9 to 5 to make ends meet, well, if you don't work that 9 to 5, you end up homeless. Being homeless can lead to being a beggar. Okay? And more than likely, if you're homeless, you're going to end up stealing. Okay? So there are just common rules and regulations that you got to keep in this society. You know, I mean, Slovakia, if you can barely hear me, because it is windy outside, so, you know, it might be slightly difficult to hear my voice. So Matthew chapter 5, verse 25, it says, agree with thine adversary quickly. Okay? That also includes the police. Nobody likes the police, but you still have to, you know, if they come up and they tell you you got to move because you're getting a noise complaint, well, that means you got to comply, man. Because if you don't comply, then they have the power to arrest you and put you in prison. Okay? Agree with thine adversary quickly, whilst thou art in the way with him, lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. So obviously, during the time of the Roman Empire, there were Jakes who were being arrested for not complying with the Roman Empire rules. So Yahushua knew exactly what he was talking about when he made this statement. Okay, and America is the modern day Roman Empire today, man. This is the Roman Empire reincarnated all over again. And you can tell just by the buildings and the stature of how everything is built here. The Roman Empire was known for being a concrete jungle. Well, if you look at America, what do you see predominantly all over the place? Sidewalks and streets, parking lots. Okay, verse 26, verily I say unto thee, thou shalt no means come out thence, meaning you're not going to come out of prison until thou hast paid the uttermost farthing. So, you know, that happens in prison today, you know. It's known as, they call it labor for less. And basically in prison, they have you working for pennies or nickels. You'll be lucky to even get $1 working in prison, you know. You're making like 35 cents an hour. 35, you making, well, not 35 cents, but you making like 10 cents an hour in prison, man. And the way they have it set up, you know, your bond might be like $10,000. So basically, they have it to where once you go to prison, you're going to be working in prison until you get out of prison. And you might as well say that you're working for free at that point. Who the hell is going to make $10,000 in prison over a span of 30 years? You make it 10 cents an hour. Most of the time, people just use that money in prison to buy what they call jail crack or jail cocaine. Okay? Yeah, there's people in prison that make cocaine. There's people in prison that somehow they get a hold of weed, you know. So a lot of the times, Jake's being oppressed so much in prison that he ended up buying drugs with that money. You know, he ended up buying drugs with that money, you know, through certain gangs or sectors in prisons. You know? Okay, you ain't making no $10,000 off of no 10 cents per hour in prison, man. Okay, so that's pretty much all I wanted to bring out there. Now let's go from there to the book of Romans. So this is the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1. It says, let every soul, okay, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. Now, when it says the higher powers, you know, ultimately, you know, because there's an order to everything. Even as a brother in this truth, you have a brother that is over you, okay? Whether if he's your camp leader or whether if he's your regional head. You see? So, you know, but even then, there's those that have more power than those brothers, okay? The police, the U.S. military, the U.S. government, the Illuminati, the so-called elite families, the so-called elites, and the banking elite families, okay? They are the higher powers on the left-hand side that the Lord has set up to punish our nation. Why? Going back to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 15th verse. And a matter of fact, let me just get that real quick. Okay? The Lord put us in this condition as a punishment for breaking his laws, statutes, and commandments. Okay? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass that if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, okay, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now, when you read further on down in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, did not the Lord say that, you know, hey, did not the Lord say that the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low? Okay? The Lord said that the stranger that is within thee shall come up above thee very high, and that we will come down into a very low state. Let me just, you know what? Yeah, for edification's sake, because the Lord is the one who put us under these cave beasts, but he did it as a punishment. So we have to bear that punishment. So just bear with me for one moment, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43, okay? It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. So who's our enemy? Who's our main adversary? The so-called white man, okay? The Lord made him the head of this planet. And where the tail? Where is the tail located at on the animal? At the back of the animal, on the bottom. Okay? That's why we are on the very bottom in this society. I mean, if you look at these Arabs, you don't see Arabs living in the ghettos here in America. You don't see East Indians living in the ghetto here in America. You don't see Africans living in the ghetto here in America. You don't see Chinese people living in the ghettos here in America. You don't see Japanese people living in the ghettos here in America. You know, or you know, even around the world. You don't see these heathens living in the ghettos all around the world. It's our people. Why? Because we are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Scriptures. And the Lord said that this was going to happen to his people. So if you know that the so-called white man is the head of this society, common sense would tell you that you got to move wisely and circumspectly in this society. Because the so-called white man, you know, the Lord has given him the power. The Lord has not only given him the power to take peace from the earth, but the Lord has also given him the power to put our people to death. Okay? The Lord has also given these devils the power to put our people to death. So you got to walk circumspectly in this society. Okay, and I'm going to get another scripture. Just real quick. The book of Daniel. Okay? The Lord is the one. Okay, the Lord is the one who put the so-called white man over us to punish us. See, the book of Daniel, I believe it's 4:17. Okay, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 17. Okay, it says, this manner is by the decree of the watchers. Okay, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High, Yahweh, ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. Okay? So these so-called white people who came out of the caves, they're known as the basest of men. But guess what? The Lord is the one who set them up in rulership. You know? The Lord is the one who has given the earth into their hands. Why? To punish us. So in this society, you literally got to walk circumspectly, man. Because if you don't, well, the so-called white man, which is the Heavenly Father's whooping stick, the Lord is going to use him to punish you. Whether if you're getting a beat down, whether if you get put to death by the police, or whether if you get arrested and thrown in jail, man. So this is the book of Romans, back in the book of Romans, chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subjected to the higher powers. Okay? Right, the higher powers. So again, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and His Son, Yahushua, they're the ones who set the so-called white man up in rulership to punish us. Okay? So the so-called white man, he's the one with the power right now. So you got to walk circumspectly in this society. Again, this truth is not about trying to be some tough guy, man. You got to, you know, you Jakes out there, you got to look at the bigger picture. You know? This truth is all about working out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay? This truth is all about working out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Okay? While helping to build the house of David, so the Lord's elect can be sealed, because the sooner the Lord's elect gets sealed, the sooner Yahushua can come back and destroy this place and deliver his elect men whosoever they may be out there. And the sooner Yahushua can put these heathens in slavery, starting with the so-called white man, and the sooner Yahushua can establish his kingdom on the earth. That's what this truth is about. This truth has no room for tough guys, man. Okay? This truth has no room for tough guys. You gotta walk circumspectly in this truth. You know, how do you think our apostles and our elders, how do you think they've been out there teaching for 30 plus years? They've been out there teaching for 30 plus years because they've been walking in the spirit, man. Okay? If you're walking after the manner of the flesh, then you're being carnal. If you're being carnal, you're not going to last long in this truth. Okay? Trying to be some kind of tough guy in this truth is an example of being carnal. Now, don't get me wrong. You got some brothers who really are tough guys, but you know, at the same time, they're humble. You know? And they know when to humble down. You know, I mean, you got brothers in this truth who are tough. Yeah, I'll give them that. Okay? But they don't let it get to their head, you know? They walk with wisdom. And that wisdom is Yahushua. Okay? Like Yahushua said in the book of Isaiah, lo, I come in the volume of the, Yahushua said, lo, he come in the volume of the book, it is written of him. Okay, like it tells you in Jeremiah, everything that was written aforetime was written for our learning. So you got to walk in the spirit, man. And a matter of fact, let me get that in the book of John. Okay, so this is the book of John, chapter 6, verse 63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. Yeah, if you're trying to act all tough towards the police, what will it profit you? It's going to profit you nothing. Okay? If you get arrested and thrown in jail, what can you profit from being in jail? You might end up losing your job. You know? Ultimately, you might end up homeless, having to stay with other brothers. You know? And then it might become harder for you to get a job because you don't got arrested for trying to be some kind of tough guy against the police. Don't do that, man. The Lord set these policemen, the Lord has given the policeman the power. So you got to comply with the police. Okay? They're the authority that drive around regulating our people. You got to understand that, man. Nobody likes the police. But you still got to do as they say. You still got to do as they say. Okay, now if the police tell you you got to take a chip, then that's when you refuse. When they tell you you got to take the jab, that's when you refuse. Okay? So this is the book of John, chapter 6, verse 63. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. Yeah, you know. Now, they are spirit and they are life, right? Now, in the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, it says, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long upon the earth. Okay? When you wake up to the fact that you're an Israelite, when the Lord wakes you up to the truth, okay, your spiritual parents becomes wisdom and the apostles of Great Millstone, starting with Apostle Tahar. Those are your spiritual parents. So, you know, your spiritual parents, they're going to lead by a good example as to how you should walk being in this truth. You know? There's been several times when the police has been called on the apostles. Okay, I've seen it before. Okay, especially like going back like 6 years ago. Okay, I don't seen the police called on the apostles, and you know what they did? They handled the situation wisely. Okay, they dealt with the police wisely. You know, I don't see it. The police don't came up. Apostle Tahar said, "How you doing, officer?" You know, the officer said, "I'm doing fine. You?" And then a conversation broke out. And then ultimately the police ended up leaving because they didn't really see anything bad that was happening. And that's the perfect example of being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, like who the world calls Jesus says in the book of Matthew, the 10th chapter. Like Yahushua said in Matthew, the 10th chapter. That's a good example of being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, and understanding the fact that you are a sheep in the midst of wolves. Okay? So Yahushua said in John 6 verse 63 that the words that he speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. So you got to walk in the spirit at all times, man. When you're walking in the spirit, you're being circumspect. You look at all around you, You're watching your surroundings physically as well as spiritually. If someone offered you a cigarette, if you're walking in the spirit, you can see that those are demons trying to tempt you to sin against the Most High. Okay? So back in Matthew, chapter 13, verse 1, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh. Right, because the Most High is the one who gives the power to whosoever he will. Okay? And every nation on this planet had their time to rule. Okay? The ancient Persian and the Medes, the ancient Babylonians. Okay? The Africans, which are the Egyptian, the ancient Egyptians. Okay? Esau, Edom, who ruled back then under the Roman Empire, under the Greeks, the Grecians, starting with Alexander. Okay? The ancient Persian and the Medes, which were the so-called East Indians back then. The Elamites. Okay, and even us. Okay, during the Dark Ages, we had control of the planet. Okay, at one point, before we were taken out of power, we were ruling Europe. We were ruling North America. We had control of North America. We had control of South America. We had control of Mexico. Okay? We was ruling over there in Russia. Okay? We were ruling over there in Russia. Okay? So, at one point, we did have control of the earth. But what happened? We got taken out of rulership because it was prophesied for the so-called white man to rise up into power and to take us out of power. Okay, so Romans, okay, like I read in Daniel's the 4th chapter, the Lord giveth the kingdom to whomsoever he will. So Romans chapter 13 verse 2, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, right? The police have the power, right? Because they're being funded by the rulers of this earth, which are the so-called elites. So if you're resisting the police, what do you think is going to happen? For whosoever resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. So you're resisting you're basically resisting what the Lord has set up. If you're resisting the police, okay? And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Well, damnation can come in the form of you being arrested and thrown in jail, and then you end up losing your job because now you're sitting in a holding cell for 7 days. You done lost your job now. Now you can't pay off your car note. You can't pay your rent. You can't pay your bills. Okay? Okay, you can't pay your rent. You can't pay your bills. You know, you can't even pay your utility bills. You can't even pay your cell phone bill. You can't even pay to have to keep your internet on. How you gonna upload your videos if you ain't got no internet? Okay? So there's a lot to think about when the police comes up to you, man. You know? You gotta think far ahead, man. Okay? You gotta think far ahead, man. There's a lot that can happen if you're trying to mouth off to the police, man. And then you had the guy with the camera, you know, the guy with the camera in that video. He was talking about, well, I mean, all he did was bring out a couple of scriptures. Well, you're still resisting the police. Okay? So what if he was using, you know, scriptures to back up, you know, his point? The point is that if the police has the authority over you in this society, man, and you got to understand that. When you look up the word police, it literally means oppressor or to oppress. Verse 3, for rulers are not a terror to good works. Right. Good works also means walking in the spirit, man. Okay, if you're walking in the spirit, then your good works are going to show, because you're going to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. Okay, that's a part of the good works, you know. It's not always about, you know, just coming out on the highways and hedges, calling the so-called white man the devil and telling 2/3 of our people that they're going to be destroyed. You also got to know when to play the role of the serpent and be harmless as a dove, man, because that's also a part of good works. You know, if you're being humble like a sheep, like Yahushua said in Matthew 10 and 16, you know, I see you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. If you're being humble like a sheep when the police come around, then you ain't got nothing to worry about. Because like Paul said, if it at all be possible, live peaceably with all men. Okay, that also includes the police that come up to your camp, confronting you about a phone call they got for a noise complaint. So Salakia, I was just meditating on something right just now. So rulers are not a terror to good works. So if you're being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove, that's also a part of the good works, man. That means that when the police come up, you're not in the spirit of resisting or starting an argument with him or calling him the devil and that he's going to be a slave in the kingdom. You know, it doesn't mean that. Okay, good police come up to your camp, you're ready to be humble like a sheep, harmless as a dove, but wise as a serpent, you know? As soon as the police come up to your camp, you know, the first thing you should do is play the role of a serpent, you know? How you doing, officer? Just like what Apostle Tahar did that one time when the police came up. How you doing, officer? You know, the police said, I'm doing fine. You? And then, you know, a friendly conversation broke out. You know? And ultimately, you know, the police ended up reasoning with them. And guess what? They didn't even have to leave because the police didn't see nothing wrong with what they were doing. So the police ended up leaving. And, you know, when I was in the Great Waters camp, that happened to us a couple of times when the police was called upon us, you know, and you know, we dealt wisely with the police, you know. You know, the police said, you know what, this is nonsense, you know. Oh, you know, we don't see nothing wrong with what y'all doing, you know. You're teaching out of the Bible, you know, just keep on doing what y'all doing, you know. And then the police ended up leaving. So, and at the end of the day, we ended up not having to move. Now, in some cases, the police was called on us, and we did have to relocate, but that's why it is important to have more than one location to teach at. You know? But, you know, because of the fact that we had to relocate, you know, we didn't argue with the police, you know, we didn't say this and that and, you know, nah, you know? You know, we played the role of the serpent. You know, we were harmless as a dove, and we were harmless and humble like sheep. Okay? For rulers are not a terror to good works, being wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove and humble and peaceful as a sheep is an example of good works. Okay? Bringing out the word of Yahweh, which is Yahawashi, is an example of good works. Walking in the spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi is a part of the good works. For rulers are not a terror, okay? For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. So if you're resisting the police, that's evil, man, because they have the authority over you. Okay? Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Talking about the police, martial law, the military, militarized policemen. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. You know? And there's been a couple of times when the police have been called on certain camps, but you know, at the same time, the police was glad that they didn't have to arrest anybody, you know? They were glad to just go back to their police car and just go back to work, man, you know? But now if you're making the police's job more harder than what it needs to be, well, you're gonna be arrested, man. Okay? Verse 4, for he is the minister of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi to thee for good. So the so-called white man, he is a minister of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi on the left-hand side. For he is a minister of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi to thee for good. Right, that's if you're doing the right thing in this truth. But now if you're being wicked, if you're committing sin behind closed doors, well, what do you think is going to happen, man? Well, the Lord is going to get you, man. And he might get you through the police. Okay? But if thou doest that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. Okay? So the so-called white man, he is the minister of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi on the left-hand side. So if you're doing that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. What's the modern day sword? The gun. Every policeman carries a gun on them. Okay? So they're not going to bear the sword in vain. okay? If you threaten the police, if you pull out a knife on the police, if you pull out a gun on the police, you think they're gonna hesitate to shoot you? Nah, they're not gonna hesitate. They're gonna pull out their Glocks immediately and they're gonna shoot you right there. Okay? But if thou doest that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai on the left-hand side, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. Okay? Because, hey, especially a lot of these policemen that come from that live in the suburbs and in these different countries, they already don't like Jake. So they're looking for a reason to make Jake's life a living hell. You know? So don't give the police a reason to shoot you, man. Okay? Do not give them a reason to arrest you and to make your life more difficult than what it needs to be. Now let's go from there. Let's go to Romans chapter 8, verse, let's see. Okay, so this is the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse, okay, Romans chapter 8, verse 5. It says, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. Hold on. Okay, yeah, Romans chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. Okay? And ultimately, you know, because here's another thing I noticed too, man. Jake loves to put on a show on camera. Okay? Jake loves to put on a show on camera. You know? Jake always want to act like the tough guy on camera. But what are you like when you're not on camera? You know? That's the question. What are you like when you're not on camera? You know? A lot of you guys that go out there and teach, you're just pretenders. You're pretending. You know? You're just putting on an act. Because you know that when your video gets uploaded to YouTube, everybody's going to see you. Like, oh yeah, oh wow, yeah, damn. that dude stood up boldly to the police. But what do it say in the book of Proverbs? Before honor is humility. And as a matter of fact, let me find that. Because another thing about this truth is that this truth is all about humbleness and humility. Okay? This truth is all about humbleness and humility. You know? This truth is not about trying to be some tough guy, man. This truth is about working out your salvation with fear and trembling, with humbleness and humility, with meekness, while helping to build the house of David so the Lord's elect can be sealed. Because the sooner the Lord's elect gets sealed, the sooner Yahweh Shah can come back and liberate us from this. The sooner Yahweh Shah can come back and liberate us from this kingdom. And the sooner, you know, we can put the sooner the Lord's elect and Yahweh Shah can put the so-called white men in slavery, as well as the heathen nations. Also, the sooner Yahweh Shah returns, the sooner, you know, his elect men can get spiritual power. Okay? soon as you get the spiritual power, you know, as soon as you get those new bodies, those extraterrestrial bodies, and you're coming down from out of the chariots, then you can be the tough guy. Because you're the one with the power now, you know? Then you can be the tough guy. You can fly around, zapping it. You can fly around, zapping the 2/3 with lightning. I mean, not the 2/3. You can fly around through the sky, zapping these heathens with lightning, shooting fireballs out of your mouth, you know? Teleporting, knocking motherfuckers out, you know? Turning into a shadow on the ground and pulling people inside the ground, you know? Then you can be the tough guy after you get the power. But right now, we don't have the power. The so-called white man does. So we gotta play it smart in this society. Okay? And again, I'm not saying I'm of the elect. I'm talking about the Lord's elect, whosoever they may be out there. Because they're going to be the, Yahushua already has the power, but when Yahushua come back, he's coming back to give his elect men power. Okay? He's coming back to give his elect men power. Okay? So if you're of the elect and you get beamed up on the chariot and you're in your extraterrestrial body and you know you can shoot lightning out of your hands and teleport and you know fly through the air and you can do backflip, you can do 300 backflips through the air and shit, shooting out fireballs while dodging bullets, then you can be the tough guy, because then you got the power. But right now, this is not the time to be a tough guy. Oh, and a matter of fact, another scripture just came to my mind one moment. I mean, let me get that in the book of Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes come after the book of Proverbs. Okay? This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the sun. Go ahead.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
So, according to Ecclesiastes 3 and 1, there is a time and a place for everything under the sun, you know? So, this is not the time or place to be some kind of tough guy, okay? And you also got to remember, man, Jacob's trouble has not happened yet. A lot of you guys, you're pretending to be some kind of tough guy on camera, but how will you be in that day when hell breaks loose in America? When there's lions and cougars and tigers and jaguars and panthers running up and down the street, eating people in the midst of the streets, when there's newly created beasts walking around eating people alive, when people are being plagued by monsters, apparitions, or outer worldly creatures, like how they show you in that movie The Mist. Okay, the movie The Mist, where basically the Lord was opening up portals and was just letting outer worldly creatures into the earth. Okay, jacking people up. Okay, when people's being plagued by viruses you have never seen in your lifetime, you know, people being turned into zombies and eating other people, when cannibalism is going on, how are you going to be in that time? Are you still going to be trying to act like some kind of tough guy? You know, again, a lot of you jakes who teach the scriptures, you're just pretending, man. You're not sincere. You just want to be seen on camera. But then there are some of you jakes, you are sincere, but you're sincerely going off. And you need to repent, man, because you might be of the elect. But if you don't repent, well, it means you're not of the elect. Because we know the elect is going to repent from their wickedness. The elect is going to repent from their sins. So back in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, for to be carnally minded, oh, hold on, let me finish that up in verse 5. Romans chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. So if you're after the flesh, your mind is not going to really be in the scriptures, man. You know, your mind is going to be after what people think of you. Your mind is going to be after the manner of what people think of you on this planet. You know, well, I don't want to put on the Hebrew Israelite garment because then people might think I'm wearing a dress. So what would people think? They could think Hebrew Israelite garment is a dress. It's not a dress. This is a manly garment. This is how we used to dress back in the ancient world. Okay? We used to dress like this back in the ancient world. Okay? Yeah. The Hebrew Israelite man, which is the so-called black, Latino, and Native Indian man, we used to dress like this back in the ancient world. Okay? This is a Hebrew Israelite garment. So what if people think this is a dress? Okay? And that's another thing too, man. The guys in that video that the brother Manak Zagba uploaded from South Carolina, the guys in that video, they had on a shirt with fringes, man. Okay? You know, you're supposed to be wearing a Hebrew Israelite garment, man. Okay? Hey, the scriptures say before honor is humility. So if you don't understand what humility is, then, you know, you're not going to be wearing a Hebrew Israelite garment out there. You know, you're going to be wearing a shirt with fringes because you want to gain the approval of the people of the world. Okay? Who gives a fuck? Who gives a flying fuck about the approval of the people of the world, man? This truth is about humble. This truth is also about humbleness and humility. When you look up the word humility means a modest or a very low view of one's importance. You understand that you're not all that important on this side, man. Okay? So the word humility means a modest or very low view of one's importance. So when people of the world starts looking at you like you're not important, that's a good thing. Okay? Okay? The elect is going to be, the Lord's elect is going to be filled with humility. Okay? The world may see us as nothing, but in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, you know, but in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord's elect, they are considered gold and silver, man. And again, I'm not saying I'm of the elect. I'm talking about the Lord's elect, whosoever they may be out there. And in the eyes of the Lord's elect are likened unto gold and silver. So who cares what the world thinks of you, man? If you're of the elect, you're considered gold and silver in the eyes of the Lord, man. And that's all what matters. What the Heavenly Father and His Son think of you. So who cares what the world thinks of you? Okay? In the book of 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, and a matter of fact, let me get that real quick. I'm gonna just get it. Almost there. Okay, this is the book of 2nd Esdras. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 15. 2nd Esdras, chapter 15, verse 3. Okay? Fear not the imaginations against thee, Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So don't worry about what people think of you because you're wearing a Hebrew Israelite garment. Don't worry about what people think of you because you're wearing a Hebrew Israelite garment, man. Okay? The scriptures say before honor is humility. Okay? Yahushua was a man of humility. King David was a man of humility. Elijah was a man of humility. Okay? Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and even the prophet Daniel, they were men of humility. Okay? The Maccabees, they were men of humility. Okay? Even Jeremiah, he was a man of humility. Isaiah was a man of humility. Okay, don't you know Isaiah had to prophesy for 10 years, butt ass naked? Okay, it takes a lot of humility to do that, man. Okay, Jeremiah was tied up and he was sunken into some mud, man. Okay, that's humility. You know, even Jonah was a man of humility. That man was sitting inside of the belly of a fish, praying and begging to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, apologizing to him. Okay? So you have many examples of men who were filled with humility, and even to this very day, they are greatly honored. Okay? So back in Romans chapter 8, verse 6, so Romans chapter 8, verse 5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. So if you mind the things of the flesh, then you mind what people think of you of the world. So you're going to put on some kind of act or some kind of facade to please the people of the world instead of pleasing Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You see, you're aiming for the wrong things. You should be aiming to please Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, because at the end of the day, it is Yahweh Shai who has the power to deliver your soul from the lake of fire, which is the intercontinental ballistic nuclear missile destruction. The intercontinental ballistic missile destruction, man. The nuclear destruction of this country, which is going to happen during World War III. Yahushua has the power to deliver you from that. Yahushua has the power to deliver you from martial law. He has the power to deliver you from civil unrest. Yahushua has the power to or I'm going to just say Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from martial law. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from famine. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from disease warfare. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from martial law, from DARPA robots. Okay? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from cannibalism. He has the power. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from the beasts of the field, from newly created beasts, from zombies, from Terminator robots, from monstrous apparitions. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has the power to deliver you from anything. So your main objective should be your main objective should be pleasing Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because if you do the things that are pleasing to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, chances are you are of the elect, and the Lord is going to deliver you in these last days from these coming calamities, especially from the nuclear war, which is going to happen during World War III, in which America is going to be the main target of this nuclear war, as well as the land of Israel over there in the Middle East. But they that are after the Spirit. Verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Okay, so with that, I want to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Kodash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth in sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return. And double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. With that, I'm going to say Shalom is on to the next one. DTA Abad Babal.